Welcome to Watch Mojo. And today, we're looking at 30 bands whose reputations have been tarnished by the actions of one of their members.
This is the end for you, my friend.
Hole, Courtney Love. When people think of Hole these days, they don't usually focus on the music as much as they should.
Go on, take everything I want you to.
Despite being among the most important and critically acclaimed bands of the grunge and alternative rock eras, their notorious lead singer has well and truly stolen their shine. Courtney Love is a divisive figure, to put it mildly.
Oh, look at my face. My name is might have been.
After her heavily publicized relationship with Nirvana's Kurt Cobain and his untimely death, Love became a pretty easy character for people to antagonize.
Hold on, please.
Don't get us wrong. She didn't help matters with her consistently outrageous behavior and her constant feuds with contemporaries. These days, even a mere mention of her name is going to summon up memories of her dramas and scandals, rather than her music.
You want a part of me? Well, I'm a salad sheet.
Pentagram, Bobby Liebling. Pentagram is a truly iconic trailblazer of the doom metal genre, fronted by a man who has been described as the U.S. Ozzy Osbourne, but without the money or sustained success.
On endless nights my knees erode. I come to desecrate your bones.
Like Osbourne, Bobby Liebling is definitely a troubled character who, despite his musical talents, has a string of legal issues that never seem to stop popping up.
But once you've shared your death with me, a fool I shall forever be.
From petty behavior to bandmates and assault charges that landed him in prison to extremely inappropriate behavior with women, Liebling is a complicated one.
I'm not a bad guy. I'm really not a bad guy underneath.
Though he was fired and later rehired by Pentagram, it's hard to know exactly how long the band will stick with such a volatile frontman at the helm.
The king always knows what he means.
Capsize, Daniel Wand, Nick Lopez. Melodic hardcore band Capsize managed to get some buzz in the 2010s thanks to a string of records released under the label Equal Vision. However, at the end of the decade, a number of disturbing allegations toward not one, but two of their members began to surface. Misconduct was at the forefront of the issues presented against Daniel Wand and Nick Lopez, sometimes even with underage fans. The pair made some attempts to explain things away, but in the end, the group quietly disbanded shortly after. In 2022, they made an attempt at a comeback, but the damage was already done. Kasabian, Tom Meighan. Anthemic rockers Kasabian managed to sustain their success for quite a long period, becoming well known as a riveting arena rock band. Album after album produced hit after hit in the UK, and they eventually found themselves with a pretty large devoted audience. However, when it emerged that lead singer Tom Meighan had assaulted his fiancée, he was quickly fired from the group. They continued on without him, with guitarist Sergei Pizzorno taking over the lead vocals. But for many fans, their golden era had officially ended. Meighan has since entered rehab and launched a solo career, but the idea of a full band reunion seems unlikely. Lights Over Paris, Robert Mawhinney. Musicians getting arrested for possession of substances, public disorder, or even all-out assault is nothing new.
Down in Cali, the girls drink till they go crazy.
However, Lights Over Paris are probably best known to the masses due to their singer Robert Mawhinney's dodgy financial dealings.
I'm not a gangster, but I would ride for you.
The frontman had spent years presenting the band as more successful than they actually were, using fraudulent documentation to get bank loans he never intended to pay back. Through his money laundering and loan stealing, he was estimated to have conned $11 million out of banks. He was sentenced to 7 years in prison, and of course, the band did not survive. Champion, Jim Hesketh. Champion was a straight-edge, hardcore punk band that garnered a cult following in the early 2000s. However, despite having what appeared to be a positive trajectory, they abruptly disbanded in 2006. A few years later, with ex-bandmates plying their trade in the punk scene, several allegations had surfaced relating to their singer and founding member, Jim Hesketh. Numerous women, who were all underage at the time of allegedly meeting Hesketh, claimed that he had assaulted them. Hesketh attempted to fight the allegations in court, but has since all but disappeared from the public eye. Mr. Bungle, Theo Langiel. Mr. Bungle are oddball rock darlings who enjoyed a long and widely adored run in the 90s, prior to their initial breakup. Fronted by Mike Patton, their cult status remains strong to this day. However, founding member Theo Langiel, after leaving the band in 1996, hit the headlines in 2023 for the most grim reason imaginable. Langiel was eventually found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to a minimum term of 25 years. The band didn't make any form of comment on the arrest, but after such a long period of time, it wasn't really expected of them. Blood on the dance floor. Davi Vanity. MySpace was the proving ground that saw Davi Vanity and his band Blood on the Dance Floor make it big. To most modern music fans, the band themselves won't ring a bell, but the name of their frontman just might.
Now is the time, now is the hour.
Dateline NBC's Chris Hansen actually brought Vanity's name to public attention when he announced that he would be investigating the singer for his ever-growing string of allegations.
It would appear that based on the merch, based upon the lyrics, that Davi Vanity was trying to appeal to a very vulnerable set of young women.
Edginess was always a part of the band's image, but Vanity was accused of extremely inappropriate behavior and all-out assault, sometimes to underage fans. Since 2009, there have been 21 different women who have accused him, although no criminal charges have managed to stick.
I don't wanna be like you.
Anti-Flag, Justin Sane. Anti-Flag lead singer Justin Sane certainly has a provocative name, that's for sure. His band were also pretty popular, releasing a string of albums in the 90s and 2000s before signing with RCA Records.
And on the TV screen, diversion and aversion is the flavor of the day.
This earned them some pretty heavy criticism, given that they were fiercely anti-capitalist.
We don't wanna talk, they don't want to talk about it.
Even more controversial was the revelation that Justin Sane was on the receiving end of several allegations of assault by women of varying ages. One of his accusers' legal team estimated that as many as 60 women had been wronged by Sane over the years. Needless to say, the band didn't last long after this.
I can't forgive, I won't forget.
Derek and the Dominoes. Jim Gordon. Derek and the Dominoes was the short-lived project that carried Eric Clapton over from his time with Cream and Blind Faith to his eventual solo career.
It's too late, she's gone.
Their drummer, Jim Gordon, became a truly infamous figure after the band's dissolution following a downward spiral in his mental health. In 1983, a psychotic episode brought about by schizophrenia led Gordon to murder his own mother, claiming that a voice had told him to do it.
And I wonder, does she know?
He spent the last 40 years of his life in jail, never attending his own parole hearings. Decades later, he was still described as a danger to himself and to society due to his mental health issues.
Tell me, it's not too late.
Arcade Fire, Win Butler. Indie legends Arcade Fire have released a string of highly influential albums since the 2000s. The singing-songwriting couple of Win Butler and Regine Chassagne were responsible for a lot of the charm that endeared the fans. However, in 2022, 5 different women accused Butler of misconduct, namely through assaults that happened after initial contact through social media. It became clear that all was not well within the band. Butler denied the accusations, saying everything was consensual. And while his wife supported these statements, it left a very bad taste in everyone's mouth. When their album Pink Elephant came out in 2025, it was a commercial and critical flop.
All of the stations that I looked at that routinely played them dropped Arcade Fire by sometime probably on Monday.
Brand new, Jessie Lacey.
You mean so much to me without you.
Emo rockers Brand New released some of the most popular and acclaimed works of their era. Despite the success of the music, in 2017, the band broke up after a number of allegations came out about singer Jessie Lacey, specifically in relation to underage girls. Lacey released a statement admitting that he suffered from vices, but made no reference to the age of the girls in question. In 2025, when Brand New attempted a comeback, another woman claimed that she was half Lacey's age when he groomed her, once again putting the frontman's activities under the spotlight. These days, it's hard to think about Brand New at all without this coming to mind.
This is so messed up.
Noir Désir, Bertrand Cantat.
Quelqu'un ici pourrait tu me dire quelles sont les raisons qui me...
The band Noir Désir might not be too well known to those of you outside of France, but their singer Bertrand Cantat is one of the most infamous musical figures of his era. The band were a huge sensation in their home country, boasting a string of hits and legions of fans. But in 2003, Cantat flew into a jealous rage and brutally beat his then-girlfriend, actress Marie Trintignant. She died in the hospital a few days later, landing Cantat an 8-year prison sentence. He served just 4 of those years and briefly attempted a comeback, but was petitioned out of any further live performances he tried to book. Crystal Castles, Ethan Cath. Canadian synth-pop duo Crystal Castles had a successful run of albums in the late 2000s and 2010s before Alice Glass abruptly announced that she was leaving the group in 2014. At the time, she cited personal and professional issues. But 3 years later, she revealed that creative partner Ethan Cath was nothing less than an emotionally abusive control freak who abused her in many different ways.
I hear it's good.
I hear it's bad.
He supposedly controlled her phone, passport, and credit card, while threatening that he would replace her in an instant if she quit. It didn't take long for several other women to come forth, accusing Cath of preying on them when they were teenagers. Limp Bizkit, Fred Durst. No band sums up the nu metal scene of the 90s and 2000s quite like Limp Bizkit, specifically frontman Fred Durst. Though the band actually are solid musicians, when they come to play, it's clearly the Fred Durst show.
You think you're special, you do. I can see it in your eyes.
He was the biggest star on the stage, but in the band's peaky years, his ego was out of control. It was as if your least favorite high school jock was given a microphone and an audience.
And you wanna mess with Limp Bizkit? Yeah, you can't mess with Limp Bizkit. Why? Because we get it on every day and every night.
Durst marketed the band based on how unlikable he was, and sure, while the group have now fully embraced the tongue-in-cheek side of their appeal these days, Durst's reputation remains the same.
I think you better quit talking that. So come and get it.
The Smiths, Morrissey. As soon as the Smiths come up in conversation, two things are bound to pop into someone's head. One is that the legendary band was a tremendous influence on indie pop, and that frontman Morrissey is insufferable. He has always been a prickly character for his narcissistic, outrageous, and sometimes confrontational appearance in the media. While this was traditionally a part of his left-wing activism, he may be more infamous now for supporting British nationalism. Morrissey is such a walking, talking controversy machine that even though the Smiths broke up in 1987, their legacy is still blemished by the frontman's recent antics.
Stop watching the news, because the news contrives to frighten you.
Marilyn Manson. Marilyn Manson. Marilyn Manson was always a guy who wanted to push the limits of what is acceptable in music and live performance. In other words, he's a pretty edgy dude.
And I don't want you, and I don't need you. The moment you resist, I won't beat you.
But as much as the lead singer of his namesake band seemed to openly enjoy the controversy, when more than a dozen women came out and accused him of assaults, public opinion started to change. One of these women was actress and former fiancé Evan Rachel Wood.
Would you say that it's a fair assessment to say that he kind of came as advertised? No, I mean, I don't think the world would have put him on such a pedestal.
Eventually, Manson was dealing with a host of allegations that included assaults, domestic violence, intimidation, and even anti-Semitism. In the end, no charges were formally filed, but his reputation never fully recovered. Guns N' Roses, Axl Rose. There's no denying that Guns N' Roses are hard rock and heavy metal legends.
Welcome to the jungle. We got fun and games.
But the fact remains that their lead singer Axl Rose can be a real pain to work with. Not only is he a legendary diva who routinely shows up incredibly late for shows, but he is also engaged in multiple feuds and written some pretty problematic lyrics.
Take me down to a paradise city where the grass is green and the girls are pretty.
It's no surprise that Rose is the only constant member of the band since they started. Even GNR's biggest fans know that Axl is not the type of guy you'd want to invite over for dinner. But hey, at least the songs are good.
Where do we go? Oh, where do we go now?
Ike and Tina Turner. Ike Turner. Ike and Tina Turner were a legendary husband and wife musical duo that achieved a string of hits across multiple decades. They were often singled out as one of the best acts of their era.
I want your loving in the worst kind of way, so come on, baby.
But behind the scenes, Turner was suffering serious emotional and physical abuse at the hands of Ike. Aggressive behavior, often fueled by substance use disorder, eventually led to a divorce in 1976. The revelations instantly changed the way that people looked at Ike and his old records, but thankfully, it turns out that Tina was a lot better off without his connections. She achieved one of the greatest career comebacks in music history in the 1980s with a huge run of solo hits.
What's love got to do with it?
The Sex Pistols. Sid Vicious. The Sex Pistols were marketed based on the raw chaos and disorder that surrounded them. But when Sid Vicious joined the band, things changed. Sure, the bassist was seen as a punk pioneer who had a huge hand in popularizing the genre. But when the band dissolved and his relationship with his girlfriend Nancy Spungen became unhinged, things got very dark. Vicious and Spungen's substance use and intense outbursts eventually led to Vicious fatally stabbing Spungen.
Sid claimed to have no idea whether he killed Nancy or not.
Nobody knows for sure what happened on that night, but Vicious would die of an overdose 4 months later. Listening to the Sex Pistols is near impossible without thinking of this tragic tale.
Five Finger Death Punch. Ivan Moody.
I'm on the wrong side of heaven, and the righteous side
the most successful heavy metal bands of the 2010s, Five Finger Death Punch is tarnished by the controversial actions of frontman Ivan Moody. Moody was nearly fired from the band in the early 2010s, citing his alcohol use disorder and his subsequent erratic onstage behavior.
Bad company, I can't deny.
This behavior often disappointed fans, like when he cut a concert in Worcester short by falsely claiming that his mother was dying. In reality, he was too inebriated to continue performing. Moody has also faced a number of personal and legal issues, like continuously abusing his ex-wife, assaulting a flight attendant, and receiving restraining orders from his own mother and sister.
So I looked in the mirror and it was like Gollum. I was green and ugly and pale.
Luckily, Moody is not currently using substances and attempting to fix the band's reputation.
It really came down to legacy, man. How did I want to be remembered? And how did I want my kids to go through the rest of their lives answering for me?
Various. Johnny Craig. Some people are so contentious that they ruin every band they're in or were in. That's the case with vocalist Johnny Craig. He has been the subject of many allegations and run-ins with the law. For example, he stole thousands of dollars by pretending to sell a used MacBook on Twitter in order to fund his substance abuse disorder. He was subsequently kicked out of Dance Gavin Dance and Emarosa. Craig's time in the band Slaves was also marred by controversy, as multiple women, including his ex-fiancée, have accused Craig of sexual assault. This led to the band being dropped from their record label. They changed their name to Rain City Drive after becoming the third band to fire Craig in scandal. Gorgoroth, Gaahl. Several Scandinavian black metal bands are represented on this list. Norwegian group Gorgoroth has faced a number of negative headlines throughout the years, with many stemming from former frontman Gaahl.
Church burnings and all these things are, of course, a thing that I support 100%.
Real name Christian Espadar, Gaahl has been to prison at least twice for assault. The first sentence was handed down in 2002 and the next in 2004. In the latter incident, Gaahl reportedly kept his victim prisoner and abused him for lengthy periods of time while collecting his blood in a cup.
But Gaahl claims it was just to prevent it from getting on his carpet.
He was sentenced to 14 months in prison. Not long after, Gaahl attempted to remove founding member Infernus from the group, but this only resulted in his own termination. Dissection. Jan Nordtveit. We go from Norway to Sweden for Dissection, which was co-founded by Jan Nordtveit in the late 80s. The band released 2 albums, but hit a major impasse in 1997 when Nordtveit was sent to prison for murder. In the summer of that year, a gay Algerian man named Youssef Ben Medour was found dead in Gothenburg's Kaler's Park. The 2 perpetrators were Nordtveit and another metal musician named Vlad, who supposedly killed the man owing to their homophobic beliefs.
But when you go deeper into it, some people realize that this is gone way too far.
Nordtveit was sentenced to 10 years in prison, but was released early in 2004. Dissection released 1 more album following his release, but split for good in 2006. Less than 2 months after their final show, Nordtveit took his own life. Hedley, Jacob Hogard.
Was it something I said or just my personality?
Hedley was enormously popular in their native Canada, scoring 9 top 10 hits. Part of this success is due to their music, while part of it stems from the popularity of frontman Jacob Hogard, who competed on Canadian Idol back in 2004.
Still miss you, baby, and I don't wanna miss a thing.
However, the band's career came to a startling end in 2018 when multiple members were accused of sexual misconduct. They admitted that they engaged in certain rock and roll cliches, but denied that they did anything illegal. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case with Hogarth, who was personally charged with sexual assault and sentenced to 5 years in prison. In the midst of the controversy, Hedley was fired by their management team and entered an indefinite hiatus.
The judge also told the court that while 38-year-old Hogarth is no longer a rock star, having lost his career as a singer with the band Hedley as a result of these charges, she believes that Hogarth still poses a risk in the future.
Emperor, Faust. We return to Norwegian black metal for the story of Faust. Faust was heavily involved in the black metal scene, providing the lyrics for Zyklon and drumming for Emperor. Their debut album, In the Nightside Eclipse, was released in 1994 and is widely considered one of the most influential black metal albums in history. Unfortunately, Faust wasn't around to enjoy it.
Ja, i Eidsivating lagmannsrett en 19 år gammel mann funnet skyldig i overlagt drap på Magne Andreassen i OL.
Back in 1992, Faust killed a gay man named Magne Andreassen after being propositioned. He later confessed to the murder and was sentenced to 14 years in prison. He served 9.
19-åringen ble også dømt for å ha satt fyr på Holmenkollen kapell sammen med 2 venner fra det såkalte satanistmiljøet.
And while Emperor is still highly regarded within the black metal scene, Faust's time with the band is regarded as an unfortunate sore spot. The Mamas and the Papas. John Phillips. A major part of the late 60s counterculture, the Mamas and the Papas scored 6 top 10 singles, including the multi-platinum California Dreamin'. The band was led by John Phillips, who passed away in 2001 at the age of 65. But both his and the band's reputation took a major hit in 2009. That's when his daughter Mackenzie revealed that she and her father shared an inappropriate relationship throughout the 70s and 80s.
You know, you tell yourself there's a video loop in your head of this event, this occurrence, this moment in time. And I have spent the last 31 years trying not to look at it.
She also claims that Phillips injected her with various substances and may have even fathered a child with her, but she received an abortion before the child was born. Some people, including Phillips's ex-wives and Mackenzie's half-sister, deny the allegations.
She said, my mother told me that this happened, Genevieve, and I said, yes, it did be, and this is something that you need to know because I'm not going to lie to you. She went, I would say, hysterical.
Others, including Phillips's bandmate Denny Doherty, have corroborated the story. Mayhem, Varg Vikernes. Mayhem was hugely influential within the black metal scene, but infamous for their many gruesome scandals.
Everything has to lose. Everything has to die.
The breaking point came after Varg Vikernes of the acclaimed solo project Burzum joined the band on bass. His volatile relationship with Euronymous, real name Eystein Orsett, ended with Vikernes murdering the guitarist during an altercation on August 10, 1993. One of the biggest scandals in black metal history temporarily broke up Mayhem and landed the killer in prison until 2009. But that's not all.
Skyldig I å ha antent Holmenkollen kapell I Oslo, Skjold kirke I Rogaland, Åsane kirke og brannforsøk på Storetveit kirke, begge I Bergen.
Vikernes also has a history of church arson and extremist ideology, even founding a neo-Nazi organization while in prison. Despite the cultural importance of his work with Burzum and Mayhem, the already controversial music is further blackened by Vikernes' name.
Sure, the truth is out there. I know some like some X-Files, but the truth is, of course, to be found. But in a sea of lies, it's just impossible to find it.
As I Lay Dying, Tim Lambesis. One of the essential metalcore bands, As I Lay Dying has been nominated for a Grammy, and their albums, An Ocean Between Us and The Powerless Rise, hit the top 10 on the Billboard 200. But their output slowed in the 2010s, and that's thanks to the actions of frontman Tim Lambesis. In May of 2013, Lambesis hired a hitman to kill his ex-wife Meighan Murphy. Fortunately for his wife, this hitman was an undercover police officer, and Lambesis was arrested for soliciting murder.
But this morning, the allegations are no laughing matter. The rocker who sang about his Christian faith
could now face 9 years in prison.
He pled guilty and was sentenced to 6 years in prison, but he served only 2 and has since returned to the band. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Lostprophets Ian Watkins. Lostprophets was on an upward trajectory until frontman Ian Watkins ruined it all. The band saw great success in the 2000s, scoring 2 UK top 10s and selling over 3 million albums. And then the horrible news broke.
This investigation has uncovered the most shocking and harrowing.
The world learned the disgusting truth about Watkins on December 19th, 2012. And while the charges are way too awful to relay here, they were enough to send him away for almost 3 decades. The band released a statement distancing themselves from Watkins, and they officially disbanded in October 2013. As for Watkins, he pled guilty and was given 29 years in prison, with the judge claiming that his story plunged into new depths of depravity. But what band springs to your mind when it comes to having disgraced members? Let us know in the comments below.